Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders, blunders, and whatever the fuck this is. My name is Andrew,
And my name is Emily.
and Emily hates me, so we are watching the 1991 syndicated television show Dracula the series, starring a bunch of people you've never heard of
And Mia Kirshner.
Kushner.
Yeah. And to be fair, I did not know that you hated Dracula. I had no clue. My husband somehow knew, and he pushed it, so maybe it's his fault.
I put this on the list.
Oh, did you?
I have no memory of this series, but my friend was talking to me about it. And when I look at it, now that I've watched it, at least the older son looks familiar, and I can't imagine that he ever had another job. So I must have seen this at some point when I was 13 or 14. I'm sorry, 1990.
1990. I was 9 years old. I was not watching this, but can I tell you something? I think I would have liked this. 9-year-old Emily would have liked this.
I mean, that seems
kind of a
entirely
cute teenage boy. Mia Kirshner is kind of pretty. Somebody to kind of look up to, right? She's got whatever. And then a kind of sexy, hot, older man vampire.
That's one way of thinking about this. Okay. So, I mean,
I certainly don't judge things by those criteria now.
Spoilers, the mom's DTF too. So let's do 3 things. Oh, yeah. I hope that's an episode. I hope it's just an episode.
So okay. I'm going to start off right away with cop blocking. I'm going to talk about poppy seeds as a snack.
Okay.
And the bad special effects.
Okay. I am going to talk about rap, hip hop, and some ska, because of course I am. Okay, the dress clothes, just so we don't forget. And do I have anything? Wow, this is going to be so special. It's going to be.
You've got a lot.
I've got so many. King of the Wicker Man. That'll, for if anybody who listens to this gets that joke, they just got it.
I don't get it.
Well, we'll talk about it when we get to it.
Okay.
So 1990. Now, this shot in Luxembourg, which I assume was because of tax breaks. It is Canadian, and the company that produced this became Hallmark Entertainment. So if you aren't aware, in the 90s, Hallmark Entertainment did a bunch of ill-advised adaptations that they somehow made work. Like they did a big Gulliver's Travels when Ted Danson was coming back from the blackface fiasco.
That. Yeah.
They did the Merlin one. They did all sorts of stuff like that. They have then since gone on to just become the Hallmark Channel, I believe. But this is sort of where they started. But actually, they started in the 70s. So God knows what that shit looks like. But okay, so Dracula. So do we want to do any more? Just get into this amazingness.
Boy, let's just get into it. Get into it. So we start with a party scene, a bar, people leaving. There's conversation about, come back to my place. No, my mom wouldn't like it. I told her I'd be home right after. No, come on, baby. Let's just go back to my place. And this couple moves outside. There's some really weird special effects, which we'll talk more about later, where it's like blurry and fuzzy. And
that's the vampire vision.
That's the vampire vision. Okay, we'll call it vampire vision. And you think, oh my God, this couple is going to be attacked. They start necking on the street corner against a wall, which is icky, whatever.
That's what Europeans do.
Apparently. And they are interrupted by, again, blurry vision, blah, blah, blah. But instead of Dracula, it is a police officer, a female police officer. And I wrote down cock blocked by a cop and then cop blocked. So I was doing a little word association. It's quite clever. And she breaks up the makeout session. Apparently that's illegal in Luxembourg.
Time to go home.
And she turns around and kind of shakes her head. Kids these days, right? Even though she's quite young herself. And out of nowhere, she's attacked by Dracula.
Or just a man in a fedora.
Or just a man in a fedora. But I wrote down that's what she gets for being a cop blocker.
Well, this scene takes forever for him to. It's like slow. It's not slow motion, but there will be sped up effects. But he very slowly, like he covers her mouth and he very slowly exposes her neck so they can like show off that he leaned in and like pressed some bite holes on her, stickers on her or something. That's where my note became.
He delicately applies the makeup.
This is Canadian. But then we get the opening credits with the amazing theme song, which hopefully you've heard some rendition of at this point, if I got off my duff and sent Emily something to include. But then, yes, it's Children of the Night, which is a quote from at least Dracula the movie and probably the novel. But then, so here's where we meet our leads, Chris and Maximilian, or Max, just please. Max.
Yeah.
So we've seen some really bad child acting on onesies. This is worse.
This takes the cake.
This is like, I'm just sitting there halfway through like, wow, those kids on Free Spirit were like, we fucking rock, man. At least we weren't on Dracula, the series. Okay, so Chris is the teenager. He is played by Joe Ronsetti, who went on to... He appeared in an episode of The Expanse, supposedly, after a 10-year break from acting. He'd been doing a bunch of bit parts. He did Garbage Pail Kids, the cartoon.
Ooh.
And this is the guy who, when I saw him, I'm like, oh crap, I think I must have watched this as a kid because he looks familiar, unless he really sticks out in the Virgin Suicides. And I remember him from that. So he's the older brother. Then the younger brother, Max, who is from Montreal, is played by Jacob Tierney, who has gone on to 38 episodes of Letterkenny, directing, writing. I wonder if he got to be a better actor over the years, because he's terrible.
He's terrible.
But he's a vampire hunter. He's a little kid who's obsessed with vampires. And then our special guest star is Mom, who is not going to be a series regular because she is a busy oil executive who has no time for her children. So she just
drops them off. She drops them off in Romania, Bulgaria. Where are they supposed to be? And jets away like immediately. It's like, oh, it's one of those things. It was so hacky. And I didn't see it coming, but I should have seen it coming. And I felt guilty for being so stupid, where she's literally pulling in and taking the kids into their Uncle Gustav's house. And she says, oh, did I not tell you? I can't stay. I have to leave right away. And I was like, God damn it. Why do these 90s businesswomen all have to be like shitty parents also? Like, because they're trying to be men, right?
Well, maybe if women didn't work, they wouldn't be shitty parents.
Hey, women can work and not be shitty parents, but...
Is that what Kanye says? I don't think that's what Kanye says.
Well, you keep telling me that he's a really great guy and that he's a genius. And, he just keeps getting worse, in my opinion. I don't know why you keep telling me he's so great. Andrew, you have to explain yourself.
Aren't we talking about the guy who does the Wolverine covers, Kanye Andrews? No, he's really problematic. I think.
So anyway, the mom comes back into play in the show, but they go in and are introduced to their Uncle Gustav. Mr. Max is snacking on poppy seeds.
Well, okay, so...
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. So Uncle Gustav, it comes out of his house. My note for that is your new European home, and in parentheses I have Quebec, because I didn't believe. I was like, they paid to fly these people across the Atlantic Ocean. And now I'm like, nah, they probably put them on a boat. They're like, it'll take you 3 weeks. It's fine, kid. But yes, and so Max's response is, I bet a vampire lives here. And when we meet Uncle Gustav, he comes out and does a whole Wilkemon thing that made me think of Cabaret. But then he's like, come inside, it's bright. And so Max starts thinking, what if this guy's a fucking vampire? Which then happens when the poppy seeds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
poppy
Max
seeds.
Max is snacking on a bag of poppy seeds. I don't know if you found that to be odd.
I've never heard of that as a thing, but this is also pre the Muffin episode of Seinfeld. So I don't remember if poppy seeds are a thing from the original Dracula or if this is just a way for them to get around having to do blood.
Maybe. So I'm just Googling. I'm thinking maybe this is some weird Canadian thing that I'm just not familiar with. No, these are just poppy seeds. I don't understand. Anyway, he's snacking on a bag of poppy seeds. If anybody knows anything about this,
Do you
please.
get a do you get a heroin high
I don't think
at some
so.
point?
I don't think so.
No?
I think
Well, then why would vampires like them so much?
I don't I don't know. But anyway, he's snacking on this bag of poppy seeds, and Uncle Gustav says something to him about how, oh, that's how you attract vampires. And he willingly or willfully or unwillfully is pretending that he is also enraptured by the poppy seeds, which also leads Max to think that Gustav is a vampire. I'm stuck on just snacking on poppy seeds. I think that's weird. Why would
It's
you do that?
weird.
It's not sunflower seeds, which are bigger. They're not going to get stuck in your.
No, it's
They're
just the
poppy
blood.
seeds.
They also weren't poppy seeds in the show because they're too big.
Yeah, I that's
Um,
why I was like, is this some weird Canadian thing that I don't know
no,
about?
it's a bunch of nonsense. So playing Uncle Gustav is Bernard Behrens, who's been in other stuff, including The
Yeah.
Man with Two Brains, The Changeling. Oh, he was in Firefox, Galaxy of Terror. Great career on this guy. Oh, he was in Waking the Dead as a priest. But when he showed up, my other note was, is this guy drunk?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a thing on this show where if you're an actor of a certain age, you hate your life and you drink before you work. Much like Gerald McLaughlin of Automan. So, Blotto. So drunk the other actors have to hold you up. So Uncle Gustav establishes he knows something about vampires too,
Yeah.
because he tells Max that the poppy seeds vampires can't resist them.
Yeah.
And that if you want to enter the world of the undead, you would better know the nature of the beast. Speaking of beasts, the beast with two backs. Intro, Sophie.
Ah.
She lives with Uncle Gustav. Why? Who knows? And my note for that is, excuse me, everyone, and Chris wants to touch her boobies. So
Chris does want to touch her boobies.
Chris introduces himself as Chris, and he says, I love astronomy and rap, and I'm older than I look, and I'm ready for a giving relationship. And wow, was it something. And then we get another, please, Max, just Max.
Yeah.
But then we cut to the reception at the embassy, which
was weird because I thought Mom said she was leaving immediately.
after the reception at the U.S. Embassy,
Oh.
where they actually shot inside that building. And I was impressed with the Quebecois architecture because I was like, this is like some nice futuristic 70s architecture. But no, it's Luxembourg. So
Yeah.
I presume that's what it looks like as they hide their Nazi gold. What? Kanye lives there now. So, and yeah, they actually shot inside. Chris bitches that he can't get MTV. The dress clothes. Okay.
Yeah.
So they put these poor kids in dress clothes. And I don't know if this is so what I can't figure out about this show is because Canadians have gone on to they made good films at one point in history. They made some really good short films in the 60s and 70s. They've made good films. They've made good television in the 21st century. But for quite a while, they made atrocious shit.
Yeah.
Like this. And what I can't figure out is, did they think this was what Americans wanted to see?
I have no idea. I have no idea because I told you, like, when I watched it before you, the only thing I could think of to describe it is that it's like a children's show because I could not fathom how they crammed a 22-minute episode about vampires or how they crammed this into a 22-minute episode. Like, it just doesn't seem like, maybe because I've got my modern brain, like, I can't fathom a 22-minute. It's not a sitcom.
Right.
It's not a drama. But it's kind of an adventure. It's like what it reminds me of is a children's book, like an old children's book that nobody wants to read anymore. Like Hardy Boys Investigate Vampires.
I wonder if there is a Wikipedia article, but it's not very in depth. I wonder if it started its life as a cartoon. Because you could see this as like a Saturday morning cartoon or something, and it would be identical, right? Like,
I just also don't see, and we can talk about this more as it goes on, how they can get 22 episodes out of this.
21
episodes.
Thank God. 21 episodes.
It's going to be a long week, folks.
Oh, it's going to be a long week. It's going to be a long season.
You mean you're not going to binge it? You're not going to binge it?
I got to save this up. I gotta save this up because it transports you to another land. Okay, so the dress clothes. They're all they're Chris's suit is about a size too big, but Max is at least 2 sizes too big. So they look silly. And you're just like, what the hell is going on?
Why can't this mother dress her kids for a very important reception?
She's a working mom, she's going to neglect them. That's how that works.
I have written down 90s woman's power suit because, oh, baby, was she rocking it. Holy cow, that little skirt suit. Oh, God. When I was a kid, I thought that was the most beautiful thing. But looking back now, it's like, Jesus Christ, what were they? That fucking power suit, man.
So they get to the party.
Yeah.
Chris bitches that he can't watch MTV. Uncle Gustav's not there, which is suspicious because it's during the day or something. And then across the room, Mom sees Alexander Lucard, and she can hardly contain himself. He is a banking, real estate, and chemical mogul. And woo-wee.
Yeah, this is Mom as exposition. She is salivating over this man and his money and wealth and power to her children, but also feeding the exposition machine so we know who he is, what his deal kind of is. And she describes him as one of the richest men in the world. And even though she's drooling over him, she doesn't realize that he's walked up to them, overheard her, and said, I'm not even in the top 10. So that is our introduction to Alexander Lucard.
The accent. So he is played by one Geordie Johnson.
Yeah.
Who appeared in The English Patient, but apparently is a Canadian actor who... Did he get jobs after this? Because his agent deserves to become a saint or something if they were able to get him jobs. He's still working every few years. So, I mean, I believe you made a joke about how Bela Lugosi doesn't give good performances, but I mean, even Bela Lugosi would be like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Like, he's terrible. It's so funny. But then he establishes that Mom works for Pennsylvania Industrial Bank.
Yeah.
And she is very successful in that. And this is where my mom is DTF note comes in. But then Chris starts bitching because Alexander Lucard wants to meet the boys. Chris starts bitching he can't get MTV.
Yeah.
So
come on over to my place. I've got MTV. Yeah, all you need is a satellite dish.
And because I'm into rap, hip hop, and some ska.
I wrote that down too. How stupid. How stupid was that?
And this is where I'm like, who are they trying? They've got to be making this for an American audience. Or, well, I don't know, because only ever saw Degrassi, the original, in school occasionally. Is Degrassi this shitty?
I've never seen Degrassi.
Because I mean, like other places, when it takes them a while to do TV, they do really shitty TV. Like Korean TV, I've yet to. I mean, I assume Squid Game is at least competently made, but anything I'd seen before that, like
a drama, like a K-drama or something.
The old ones look like soap operas, right? Like,
well, they are. I mean, a K-drama is a soap opera,
but they look like soap operas in the pejorative sense of they're using shitty half-inch video and lighting and rehearsing and things like that. I think that's changed, but whatever the fuck this is, it has not changed. So he gives him his card, welcomes Max. He's going to be friends with him. And then they go home and they're going to bed, Max and Chris, the bros. And Max is complaining that Uncle Gustav doesn't have any crosses around the house.
Oh, yes. More notes about how he could be a vampire.
And then Chris responds, maybe he's Jewish, which
is weird because you'd think you'd know that.
Well, I mean, he's a white guy. He doesn't need to know things like that.
About his family? His family?
Okay, you've been reading white men's tweets for 15 years. Would you bet that most white men know whether or not their European uncles are Jewish?
Fair enough.
Unless they're neo-Nazis, so that's half. That's half the U.S. population. That's only 70% of Twitter. Anyway, he also hates garlic.
Hates garlic.
So Max is now convinced. Chris says you can do something about it tomorrow, but you can't bother Mom because she's leaving the episode. She's already left the episode and didn't say goodbye to us. And then Max says something about how he's going to stay up late because otherwise he doesn't want Uncle Gustav to be sucking any plasma. And so if I remember, there will be a sucking plasma while listening to rap hip hop in some ska t-shirt. But I won't remember. So he's going to go see Mr. Lucard because, the fucking billionaire is going to, who wants to hang out with young boys is going to help him out with this problem.
It's really creepy.
Right after he buys a social network.
And the fact that he go on. Sorry.
No,
I was jumping ahead.
I just wanted to get that in at some point in this, and I just did.
But he shows up at Alexander Lucard's office. Like, how does a 10-year-old boy, 11-year-old boy get through all of those layers of obstruction to get into the office?
Because everybody there is like, oh, it's another little boy come to see Mr. Lucard, send him right up.
Fair enough.
Complacency,
yeah. Complicity.
He's the nephew of the old man who lives with the teenage girl. It's totally normal in Quebec, Luxembourg here. Okay, so he's eating his fucking poppy seeds again.
Yes.
And he spills them on the ground.
He gets overly excited, and this is like peak bad acting for this kid in this episode. Overly excited, and the bag, it's like he manipulates his hand in such an unnatural way, and the bag falls over. And
like Trump drinking water.
It must have been 5 or 6 takes, and they were just like, fine, we'll take this.
And so he spills them all over Alexander Lucard's floor. Alexander Lucard's like, don't worry about it, Max. Just leave the poppy seeds. Just leave them. You and your brother are in danger. Leave me alone, then come back and we'll talk about what we can do about your danger. So Max leaves, walking past the exercise bike that is in the office, which raises some issues about whether or not Dracula actually needs to stay fit. And then Dracula gets down on the ground and licks up them poppy seeds and gives us his O face. And is it bad? And then he does a slight transformation where they put in the black contact lenses.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we cut to that night. Sophie and Chris are watching TV. We did not see Max come back into the office. We've just cut ahead a few hours. So they're watching TV. Chris is bitching that they don't have MTV and that Europe sucks. And and then they watch something that sounds like classical or ballet or something. And I was like, wasn't there like German EDM at this point, like 1990? Like there was Sprockets, right? Like we're in the Sprockets era. They could have been watching that.
But also this teenage boy is so bad at like flirting with this girl. This girl lives there and she wants to be there. And he's bitching about how much he hates it there. And it's like, this is not a way to get the girl. Let's give him some lessons. No, we're not going to give him lessons. He doesn't.
Okay. So if you haven't listened to season 1 of Onesies, where we discussed Free Spirit, that show was entirely about a teenage brother trying to figure out ways to
humiliate his sister and sleep with anybody. Anybody?
Absolutely anyone. Manipulate women into the sack and humiliate his sister. So yeah, this kid's got a low bar for the season. So upstairs, Max is wearing his little MAGA hat because Alexander Lucard gave him one. And he sneaks out the window. And so
he's making a bunch of racket and they hear him.
Yeah. And so Chris goes up and is going to follow him out the window. But then Sophie reminds him that he can just take the stairs and go outside. So now Max is running to a castle that we have not previously. Maybe we established it in the opening when we drove in.
I don't know if we established it, but somebody mentioned that he lives in a castle. I don't know if
it's after
they
start the. Yeah. So this is just now this mysterious millionaire has a castle. And when they run there, so they're following Max as he runs there. So they run past a waterfall that they made with a water hose.
Yeah. That was bad.
And I was just
practical effects. Wow.
Okay. So they get there. Max lets himself in through a door and he leaves it open so Chris and Sophie can follow him. And they then go inside to a set. And this is the King of the Wicker Men comment. So it's sort of an armor room. King of the Wicker Men refers to when Robert Wool sees the Hall of Armor in Batman 89. He says, "Who's this King of the Wicker Men?" Because he's a, imperialist fucking white guy.
Gotcha.
And then he gets money out of Bruce Wayne. So, and then Chris says, "This looks like a Metallica video," because this is a fucking hip show.
This is a fucking hip kid. Like, what a cool kid.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to the hippest reference. Max comes out and goes, "All right, I did it." And this is where we establish. Okay, no, I forgot to look up what this is from. Chris goes, "You tricked us into coming here? This time it's personal." Because he speaks in catchphrases from movie trailers because he's also a cool kid. And I can't remember what "This Time It's Personal."
I don't remember either.
That would have been, but
Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal or something.
I think it would have been a Chuck Norris. No, it's First Blood. Blood. It's Rambo 2.
Oh.
It's Rambo 2. I think it's or Rambo First Blood Part 2. I think that's This Time It's Personal. Okay, so Max tells them that
it's also the tagline for Jaws Revenge.
Oh, so is it not from Rambo First Blood Part 2?
I don't know.
They ripped off the Jaws the Revenge thing?
Yeah, must
be. That's a choice. Okay, so Max tells them Uncle Gustav is a vampire and we're only safe here with Mr. Lucard. Max and Mr. Lucard, after Mr. Lucard ate all the poppy seeds off the floor, came up with this plan where Max was going to sneak out, make a bunch of noise to get Chris to follow him to Alexander Lucard's. So this was all a plan. And my note is Max is a very bad actor.
Yes.
Okay. So in comes Alexander Lucard, and Sophie says, like, "This, we got to get out of here. There's something wrong." Like, she knows that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
To which Alexander Lucard calls out for Raymond, who is a Frankenstein's monster type in a bad wig.
Yeah.
Because Dracula is going to have minions. And I
Dracula's got
think
minions.
they're going to be amazing. So Sophie's got a cross. And so she's able to hold Dracula back. And she goes, go get Gustav. He's the only one who can help us. So the boys can't rescue Sophie because Raymond's got her. But they run off to the telephone.
Some
machine.
payphone somewhere.
Yep. They run out to the payphone and they call home. And it sounds like Uncle Gustav is picking up, but it's really a funny voicemail message.
Oh man, the bait and switch. Oh, so good.
He's out eating schnitzel, and then he says, "Now, while you wait to leave your message, why don't you listen to some music?" He's an asshole. Like, just imagine you got to wait 45 seconds to leave a message. And Chris points out this is all Max's fault. Max comes back once the phone picks up and yells help into the receiver.
I thought that was funny. The most entertaining part of it was they're running away back to the house to help Sophie, or try to help Sophie. And Max comes back and grabs the phone and goes, help. The most entertaining part.
I mean, it's a low bar. Okay, so yes, they're going to go back and save Sophie themselves. Cut to the castle. Dracula's putting on scary music for Sophie. Now, Sophie is presumably 14 to 16 years old. So she says something like, "You're him, aren't you?" And in his wonderful accent, Mr. Lucard goes, "Why, whatever do you mean?" And she's like, "You're Dracula." And he says, "No, I'm Milli Vanilli."
That was so stupid, but hilarious. I have that written down too.
They could have just used this as it was 2 years too late, so the references would be dated. But this could have been Gary Oldman's Saturday Night Live skit for Bram Stoker's. So he says, "Of course I'm Dracula. Now think of the advantages of being a vampire. You get to roam the night, blah, blah, blah." And not what you get to do. It's the advantages for him. Because he is a rich white man. He gets to roam the night collecting, he says. His latest acquisition is Officer Maria, who has a beautiful skin tone, though little Sophie's skin tone is even finer.
Ugh.
Yucky.
So this reminded me, and only because Mia Kirshner kind of looks like her, of Labyrinth with Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. And it's like, this is turning into like a weird, creepy child bride situation. And I don't like it. So Mia Kirshner was only 15 when this came out. So she was probably 14 filming it, maybe 15. That creeped me out so much. And again, was giving me big Bowie vibes. And I'm not a huge Bowie fan. And I found that in Labyrinth real creepy, although everything else I love about Labyrinth, that weird child bride thing was creepy. And this is creepy.
Yeah.
So note for future television shows and filmmakers, don't have attractive older men trying to seduce pretty young actresses, because it's gross. And don't do it in real life either. Hey, stop trying to fuck kids.
No, I don't know. I mean, Gen X ladies seem to think Rob Lowe's sterling, so.
Well, everyone loves Bowie too, and he was fucking kids.
Yeah, but only in the 70s.
Yeah, that makes it okay.
Well, whatever. I don't know, Roman Polanski. Do we want to just...
Let's go down the line.
Just want to talk about what people are willing to forgive their
heroes.
Who have no bearing on their lives whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. Max tricks the vampires who are inside. So Max and Chris get back to the castle. They find the door locked. And Max has a really good idea. They're going to knock on the door and then go hide and run in after it opens, which I believe was also on Morton and Hayes 4 times.
So we talked a little bit about the minions. These minions seemingly are vampires.
Yep.
But they also kind of act like zombies. Like, they don't talk. They're like they're out for blood, and that's the one thing. They don't talk, they don't have personalities, they
No.
just
They're brainwashed.
they're
vampires.
brain dead vampires.
Brain dead vampires.
It's the weirdest thing. Since we're gonna have a lot to talk about with vampire lore.
Okay, so back inside to Dracula and Sophie. She's like, Gustav will save me. And he's like, that was the whole point. I'm trying to bring him here. It's a trap. Can we guess what every other episode of this fucking show is going to be? But that's not the only reason. He also wanted her for her beauty and blood type. AB negative. Yummy, yummy. And so now Dracula shit talks the Van Helsing family.
Mm-hmm.
He says the great-grandfather wasn't shit. Or no, the great-grandfather was good, but grandfather and father were shit. And Gustav's the first one to be worth it since great-grandpa. I don't know about I mean, that would mean that the Van Helsing of the novel had a kid, which I don't know if was ever established. Don't care. Okay, so then he's going to bite her. But the way he goes after her, she could have run away, but she doesn't, which is great blocking. She didn't run. Good thing he's so slow. So the boys get there, and this is where we get some of our action special effects. When Dracula throws Chris down the table to knock things off of it.
Yes.
A la a cartoon or Morton and Hayes. But then Max pulls out a bottle of holy water and throws it on Dracula because he never leaves home without it, which means he had it the first time they were there. So the vampire from outside shows up, and Chris calls her Elvira.
Bad. Boo. Don't bring her into this.
Then Max pulls a cross, and it's unclear whether or not that's Sophie's cross or if he had it.
Yeah.
But then he gives Chris a stake to stake her. Chris says, but I don't believe in, because most of my notes are just dialogue.
Yes.
And then both Max and Sophie say, believe. And then Chris says, she's a girl. And then she blocks the cross or something, but basically...
So he gets in front, he gets between the vampire and the cross, and so somehow that negates the power.
That negates the power. So then Max saves him by knocking her onto the cross on the floor, which also means that they didn't intentionally kill her. She died by accident. We'll see once the kids start killing vampires. I want to see how young they go with that. But they knock her onto the cross, and she turns into some 1990 video CGI before disappearing.
Yeah.
And so then Chris is blathering that he believes. Dracula's doing a transformation on the face, and they're doing a speed run shot through the castle. And they do the shot from Jaws? Is it forced perspective or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do that for Dracula, but on videotape, and it looks really bad.
Really bad. There's so many special effects that are just very, very poorly done.
But then Dracula gets the kids, and because Max is out of holy water, pin in that, Dracula busts out a really bad laugh, but then Gustav shows up just in the nick of time with a stake.
Mm-hmm.
Max gets his other bottle of holy water out of the backpack, which he'd forgotten he had, and throws it at Dracula, who then turns into a bat with worse special effects than Abbott and Costello meet Dracula in 1948.
That was the special effect that I had written down to talk about. It was real bad. Real bad. And like you said, worse than anything I've seen, even 50 years before this.
Well, the problem is, since this is shot on video, they're using like video special effects generators, which were only used for shit like, local news fucking broadcasts and shit. Like, this is before anybody serious was doing it because it all looked so bad.
Yeah.
Like, only somebody who's going to watch Dracula the series is going to accept these special effects. Gustav says something about, I left you safe and sound home watching television. and then they're going to go before his creatures find us. So go back home. It's going to be Gustav's explaining that it's going to be a running battle, or it is a running battle between the Van Helsing ancestors and him and Dracula. This newest identity, Alexander Lucard, is the most dangerous or something. Now, with his corporate connections, he can take over the world. He must be stopped before he buys Twitter. And then they note, second time I made that joke, you didn't laugh the first time. And then they're like, Max has been quiet because, you know, he did kill some fucking vampire lady, but they're like, what's wrong? Max is like, well, I was in the same room as the Dracula, and I didn't even get his autograph. To which Gustav says, there will be other evenings you can do that while we try to kill him. Would you like some more cocoa? And Max gives a smile for the pause out. And that's when I texted you, this is the worst fucking show. Like, wow, it's so bad.
It's so bad. It's powerfully bad. And I'm so glad to force you to watch it.
It is special. I'm gotta make some notes for what we're watching next time.
Yeah, I watched it and immediately I was taken by some of the inconsistencies with vampire lore that are fairly commonly known. Daylight, well,
no,
I never heard the poppy seed thing before.
Dracula can go out in daylight. His powers are diminished.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
See, I don't know. I've never seen the Bela Lugosi movie either. But it struck me as a perfect opportunity to do something. I warned the listeners that this would happen before I even watched the episode. But I was thinking that this could be like a Garth Marenghi style TV show, like a goof vampire TV show starring Matt Berry. I mean, as Dracula. Couldn't you see this? Like some goofy, like Dark Place vampire show? I would love
Year
that.
the Rabbit, only this.
Yeah,
sure.
I would love that. I would love it so much more than this.
Is it going to be funny in 13 episodes when you're saying that exact same thing?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's I do think I must have seen it at least a couple times as a kid, but
next episode I'm going to pick out 3 lines and mimic Matt Berry saying those lines, and you will laugh.
Okay.
Milli Vanilli.
Is he on? He's not on Cameo yet, right? Like,
I don't think so. I doubt it.
Well, I don't know. Like, What We Do in the Shadows is going into season 5. That's Cameo territory, in my opinion. Once you're at season 5, maybe you should start your Cameo. Who else is on Cameo that we could get say lines from this?
I don't know. We could find somebody, I'm sure.
Okay.
Some voiceover artist. But anyway, I really enjoyed it in the worst way, obviously. I mean, it's terrible. Poor Mia Kirshner, she gets absolutely nothing to do except girly screaming. And I mean, she works with Van Helsing, right? So why doesn't she know more about how to help? Like, she's helpless princess being rescued by boys. Boo.
What do you want her to do? You want her to put on a power suit and abandon them?
I want her to fucking kick ass. That's what I want. I want her to show those boys how to fight vampires.
No.
That's what I want.
This is 2 years before anybody had introduced the possibility that a girl could kill a vampire.
Give me that. Just want it.
We'll see.
I hope she's in it more, and I hope she has more to do, because quite frankly, boo to her presence. She can do so much more. Whatever.
The boys can't, though. So neither can the supporting cast. I was very surprised to see Mom was a professional actor. I was very surprised to see Dracula was a professional actor.
Yeah. And the little brother.
So I don't know if this is on YouTube, but I do highly recommend folks folks search this out. It is a very special look in the, it's weird. They mostly have Van Helsing or Bram Stoker's clips.
This is so many episodes. I'm so sorry. The next episode is called Double Cross. Gustav's old friends Peter and Anna Dyson visit for a short time. And Max takes whatever. I'm not even going to describe it. It doesn't look like Mia Kirshner's in it again, but she must be because she's like top billed. Whatever. This is so weird.
This is shockingly on YouTube with
nice
clip art as the logo, so nobody will take it down apparently. But I don't know if anybody's claiming their copyright on this.
So go out, watch it on YouTube. And enjoy
when's
it.
The last time did we ever tell you to watch a show before? You should go watch it.
No, I don't think we have. Have we?
Yeah, I mean, we implied people should watch Police Squad. We strongly implied that. Yeah,
because that's good.
That's good. But this is something special.
Yeah,
you shouldn't deprive yourself, especially these days.
Yeah. So go out, find a new guilty pleasure. Watch some Dracula, the series, and we will see you next week for episode 2 of season 5. The episode we'll be watching is called Double Cross. We will see you then. Bye-bye.